let's
This.
sit. Would you join me in the pledge, please? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All board members are present. We need to entertain a motion to go into closed session for legal matters. Is there anything else we need to go into exec session for, or closed session?
Do we need anything on the?
I don't think we need to review that unless, I think you've talked to everybody very much.
So it'll be pending litigation.
Pending litigation, I said legal matters. We'll put it.
Gary's ears perked up, and I want to make sure we go a little more explicit. Pending litigation.
Pending litigation, I have been corrected. Is there a motion for pending litigation closed session? Andy moves, Derek seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We will go into closed session. We're back in open session. Andy, Corey's here, so I don't know whether you want to explain, well, we're gonna delay, you'll notice on the agenda, item 13 is to extend deadline for submission of proposals for guaranteed energy savings program. So you want to give your report and tie that together?
Well, we had the walkthrough on, what day was that?
25th of June, I believe, right?
25th, at 9 o'clock. And we had another person, another company show up. We did the walkthrough, and I think we've just decided that we're going to listen to what the other company has to say too, and we're going to extend the deadline till, what did we say, 30 days?
Yeah, we're gonna do it, whatever that Friday
The next-
is,
okay.
before our study session.
Okay. I'll have dates. Wednesday, I'll get with you, Wednesday when we talk about extending, I'll have the dates then.
And then we'll open it up at our next studies, well, our first study session in September,
Okay.
and then prior to the board meeting.
Okay? Just so you guys know what's going on and why.
I just,
And cautious, we want to make sure we get all the information we can.
yeah, I just don't want anybody saying.
Yeah.
But those are the only, we only have two, and now the door's closed, so nobody else comes in,
Right.
so, okay.
So it was you and one other company that did the walkthrough?
Yeah, Honeywell.
Okay.
Usually expect one of the big players to show up.
Yeah.
Well, we initially got something from somebody else, but it was a timeline issue or something, right? Johnson.
Johnson was, early on in the game, had asked if we were interested in, and at that one time, I really never, my understanding was they were all basically the same thing. So, and they had the option, I mean, everybody's made aware of that if they are interested, they could have shown up that day when we did the walkthrough. But Honeywell showed up.
What do these proposals include, like what areas we need to focus on, basically,
Yes,
where there's bigger savings?
bigger savings. I mean, just see what someone else's ideas. I take it you haven't heard from Honeywell yet, as far as them coming down to do some sort of an initial survey, which they will, I'm sure. They'll come through and do basically the same kind of, you looked and decided what you thought would be the best avenues for savings, and they'll come through and do the same thing.
Yeah, and the RFP is qualifications based. The Department of Energy prefers not to have multiple numbers thrown out because the numbers don't mean anything at this point. So they can, I mean, they've seen our presentation, it's online, but so they can give you numbers that are obviously low volume numbers, but it's just based off the qualification who you guys decide you want to work with.
Okay?
Yeah, I think you said there's 3 players that pretty much do this kind of work, and
Johnson.
yeah, and the 3 of you have been together on enough that, yeah.
We run into them everywhere, so
Yeah.
it's a normal process, and I think it makes sense for you guys to do your due diligence and
Sure.
Is it like a Jets Sharks scenario when you guys meet in a hallway or something?
It's good because we're two different companies, we take different approaches, so it makes sense to kind of find what works best for everybody.
That's kind of, yeah, we'll just find out once they come in, they'll tell us, I'm sure they'll make a presentation, but probably us.
So a simple
We'll see.
motion to extend on Wednesday would be appropriate, just so we're on the record as extending the time period for another month. We just want to make sure everybody was on board and understood the game plan.
Okay,
Anything else, Andy?
that's it.
Ori, just out of curiosity, is there a timeline that we need to be cognizant of if we wanted to start this next year?
The solar is the thing that's gonna drive your timeline. Pushing it out a month, hopefully is not gonna be an issue, but the
2 months
solar,
would probably would be.
yeah, the solar is gonna become available this fall at some point.
Okay.
So if it's a first come, first serve application and they want shovel-ready applications, so that means the audit has to be done, everything has to be figured out, the numbers have to be finalized. And that's the only thing that really drives what you guys, everything else is fine, there's no other deadlines you have to worry about for the rest of the project.
Right, and so when you say the solar is ready, that is applications to the state for particular grants?
To the Illinois Power Agency, yeah. So right now they're selecting a company a facilitator to facilitate the program. And once that facilitator is selected, and they have it narrowed down to 2 different companies, so they're ready, they're close. Once that's selected, then that company decides the timeline. And they could decide, let's do this now, so it could happen a week later, or it could take a couple months. Because they basically established the program that we're supposed to use, the software we're supposed to use and everything like that, as far as calculating those solar renewable energy credits. And they'll basically have a priority list, because there's $180-something million, and that's gonna go quick. So they're gonna prioritize who gets that money, and it's gonna be based off of how shovel-ready your project is, what your situation is. Low-income communities are gonna get priority, so they're gonna
So
kind of.
it's a scope thing as well, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be prepared?
He's about to,
Okay.
could be.
Yeah, we have to go through the audit. The first thing we'll do is the solar, and we can put that together pretty quickly.
And exactly how does that solar, I take it there's essentially some sort of a grant, the solar grant, is that what it is?
So they've basically been pulling money out of your Ameren bills for the past 3 years, and that's been going into a pot of money. And there's $187 million or something like that that's available in that pot, and that's gonna be divvied up through these different programs. So I think for your particular program, the Solar for All program, there's $60 million or something like that. So, and then commercial entities have their own block program, and so it's all broken up differently. There's a 300-page legislation that kind of explains it all, but it's kind of.
So if we get put under the gun, or potentially would we do an audit solely for the solar portion and decide that in order to expedite the paperwork for the program, or is that something you've done, or does that make sense to do? Is that?
It's really gonna depend on what their requirements for the application is, and they haven't announced that yet. We've done this in other states, so we have a kind of decent idea what to expect, but it could differ a little bit. But potentially that could happen where we have to fast track a portion of it, and then you amend the contract once the rest of it's ready to go. So there's different ways that can be broken out. It wouldn't be that big of a headache.
And the other thing I wonder about is, as we talk about that program, and I know it was a pretty quick process for you guys to kind of paint those on a map, but I assume once you go through the audit, there may be talk of, scope or an envelope of number of panels we put up and things like that, based on space that we tell you, hey, we can use this over here, right? So.
Yeah, we'll give you kind of parameters and thinking like roof mount's the best case scenario, and then having a large ground mount is better. Scattering it out is gonna be more expensive, and that's just all gonna affect the payback numbers, so.
And you'll have all that to.
Doing something might make it 6 months longer payback, or a year longer, so
Sure.
you guys will be able to weigh those differences.
Right, and then, well, I imagine with solar, that's probably a faster payback than some of the other stuff we might wanna do, because it's actually the one that's generating.
With the credits, yes, it is. They're coming back really nice, like right around where like lighting is. So they're kind of those low-hanging things that are helping the project, and then there's some of the other central air and things like that.
And we'll have a number, you guys will have a number from Interstar that will kind of show our reasonable max. I mean, obviously, we can't go beyond what we would use.
Ameren, not Interstar. I'm
The
sorry.
electric company, sorry, I misspoke. Yeah. The people that make those electrons, you know, make lights go on, those people. So we'll have that number, and so if we say, look, we got 40 acres sitting here that's south facing, that never has a cloud over it, and you can say, well, you can only put in 10, right? Like that, we'll know
Oh,
what
as
our
far as like
reasonable max.
over generating?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have that. We have that number now based off of the utility data we collected. So I think we're at like 65% production with the system we put in. So if you find area for another 40%, and you can go like 5% over. But then, yeah, after that, then you're just wasting.
Right.
That's just not.
Augie?
Yes, sir.
Now, we got a memo from you, or whatever it was, saying that you were checking on fee structure with Ameren also? Did I dream that, or was something?
Well, you're in the ballpark,
All right,
but something separate but
Right.
related.
right, I understand.
I get contacted, oh my gosh, every month,
There's about 20 companies that do that.
and they just wanna come in, they wanna see if they can save you money
Right.
by purchasing your energy through them versus, and so I thought, well, while we're
What the
dealing with
heck?
energy, I thought it'd be a good idea to compare.
Right.
So they have our Ameren bills, and they're going to send us back an analysis, a
At
comparison.
least we'll know, we can check
At least
that
we'll
item
know.
off.
Yeah,
Okay, I think it was great, thank you.
Yeah, that's typically recommended, especially if you're entering into a longer agreement with us. You don't wanna lower your rates after the project starts, cause then that can affect that payback. You wanna do it before the project starts, so we use those numbers with our projections. So that just helps you guys a lot better.
Very good, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, Woody.
Thanks guys, appreciate it.
Dan, your report, but just make sure that we don't discuss personnel at all.
Yeah, everybody in town knows it anyway.
All right.
I don't, but you can tell me
I don't know
later.
where it came from, but everybody knows.
All right. Do you have any other,
Not everybody, almost everybody.
he can fill you in.
I talked to you, Bill. Did we? Landry.
Anyway, we cannot discuss it here, is
Okay,
what I'm
we're not
trying to say.
discussing it, we're not discussing it.
All right.
Put two in the code of silence.
What's your text number, Dad?
Do you have anything else to
I
report?
just wondered about the second amendment that we, the resolution that we tabled, cause I got, jumped on pretty good last week, about a couple weeks ago.
it's upstairs, well,
The
upstairs.
attorney has been gone.
The state's attorney's looking at it, but he's been gone,
Okay.
Yeah.
so.
John, do you have anything? Augie?
Yes, I do, and maybe you were gonna mention this, but you should have all received the revised renewal.
I'm gonna, yeah.
You gonna take care of that?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was covered. Energy, that. I think that's all I have.
Well, we can talk about it right now, it's on the
No, I
agenda.
mean,
You'll notice you have in your packet from Blue Cross Blue Shield, the insurance increases. At the last study session, I think we told Gary we were looking at a 10 point some odd percent, almost 11, and since that time, we've been able to work it down to 4.03%. And if you add, you guys got it there? Our experience rate, or risk change, was a negative 9.24, which is very, very, very good. That's a reverse from a trend that we've been facing. Now, to show you how it actually boils out, the last contract up there that shows 38 people under it in the top box and in the second box, we actually are experiencing a $5.54 decrease in the amount of money for that particular policy. As far as the first one, which is $849.57, and it's going to $553 853.33, that policy no longer exists and is not available. So you're gonna see the 6 people that are covered by that either go to policy 2 or 3. The thing that we need to do in the insurance committee, which I believe is you, Derek, and John, in the next 2 weeks, we are obligated to review the policies with the various groups. I would think that we want, obviously, the jailers, dispatchers, probably a representative from the health department, a representative from the highway department, and probably a representative from the courthouse.
What about the deputies? I know that's a whole separate issue.
Deputies, not at this point. So, Augie and I talked about that late last week, and he was gonna start to explore who those people might be. But we need to have that in a meeting held within the next 2 weeks, because.
Or sooner, or sooner.
Or sooner. I mean, it has to be, because we have to get this passed, and we have it on the agenda to pass it subject to the review of the committee. And so there are things that could be done. For example, the lesser of the 2 HSAs is actually gonna cost another $19.13 a month. And when you review those 6 people plus, they may want to go, well, and you're gonna have it in your full policy. You may have an option to increase a deductible by $1,000, may wipe out a lot of that. In that way, we need to address that with the folks that are affected.
I mean, it's gonna be a shame, because I've had a lot of people tell me how much they really enjoy November Papa Papa 9832 Charlie, as that they really enjoy that particular policy. I don't know what the hell these things are.
Well, the first,
PPO.
the PPO is the first one. That's going away.
That's the Papa Papa, that's how I interpret that. I need to get out my health care code.
So we're only gonna be left with the bottom 2 in each box,
Sierra, Charlie, and Papa Echo, Quebec. All right.
okay?
One Zulu.
So I'm-
Too much, no oxygen.
At any rate, am I getting across, I'm losing you, I have a feeling, you're drifting off. We do need to
Yeah.
fulfill our obligations to our employees, make sure that we
Can we
discuss.
get something else?
Augie's
Well,
got,
You've got a whole thing with everything.
I got a whole thing with everything.
gives you,
Okay.
I say what we do, and probably
Let's get
similar to
Kurt
what we
there
did, have
also.
Kurt there,
Yeah.
right,
we did
and you
last
should
time.
have
You
Kurt.
wanna knock it out before Wednesday?
just
Can you do
before
that?
this.
Well,
Wednesday.
we
I gotta get Kurt.
we gotta post a meeting.
You gotta post a meeting, okay? So you got 48 hours, no matter what, okay? But Augie will work with you 3, me,
So I'll post a meeting, but how soon can we do it? When,
Late in the week, you probably not.
Probably not ready for
How about Monday?
Monday
A
would
week
be
from
good.
today.
what about Wednesday, Thursday this week?
We can't do Wednesday, right?
Well,
We got
I gotta, as long as it's 48 hours. If you did it Wednesday at 1 o'clock, then I can get back to the office, I can post a meeting, and
Would
it'd be
4
fine.
be better, so all the employees can just go straight from work into the meeting?
Those should be both fine.
Wednesday.
Or they can come
Wednesday
during
night
the
is
meeting.
tough, 'cause I got to go get stuff,
Yeah.
but I could do it earlier Wednesday.
I don't think there would be an issue with anybody
They could
coming
come in.
during the work day, to be
You
honest
gotta
with
see
you.
if Kurt can make it.
Let's shoot for Wednesday 1. I'll call Kurt, and then let you know, no?
We'll just be fluid, we'll try to do that.
Yeah, Wednesday,
And
see what
if we
time.
can, we can, if we can't, we won't.
well, and you need to make sure that both, or the union, there's 2 reps from the jailers dispatchers, because they're each entitled to have 1 there, okay?
Okay.
Right.
So that is,
Jailers and dispatchers will be there.
right, 1 and
okay,
1,
I'm sitting there.
and I think it's fair to call the other department heads and offer somebody to not for each one in the courthouse, but at least have one or two, wouldn't you think?
What's your
Augie?
drop dead on a Wednesday then? When do you need to be out of there?
I prefer to be out now, like 4, 3, 4.
I mean, potentially probably take 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't think the one issue is gonna, I
One
mean,
later than 2.
One will make it, yeah.
with the vast majority of the people, 38 of them, their policy going down, it's not gonna be an issue.
Right.
But the other one could be an issue. And eventually what we may wanna do is look at just having one policy.
I wondered that, and then there could be any number of things, it could be the demographics, but I'm wondering if our price went down because we had so many people on one plan, if that.
We still could do that.
I'm just,
Yeah.
but I think we need to ask input.
Yeah,
I mean, the decision is ultimately the board's,
right.
but we promised and we need to talk to the folks to see how it impacts them, okay? Because $19 is, you know, that's a fair amount of money, that's,
Yeah.
240.
$228 at least, $230. So, I mean, that's a fair amount of money. And there may be some mitigation that we can do in there that would help cause issues to the rest. All right, so are everybody okay on that? Anything else that we need to bring up on that, Augie?
No, obviously I'll have a full packet of information for
Right,
you.
and
Ahead of
it's
time.
gonna list different policies.
Absolutely.
And modifications that you can make to that lesser HSA. In other words, if you do this, here's the deal. If you do this, here's the premium. If you do this, here's the premium. So,
And you're saying the 3805 is actually the less benefit plan? From the-
I'm sorry, Derek.
Middle is less benefits than
yes,
bottom?
that's an HSA, yes. It's got a
They're
higher
both HSA,
deductible.
right?
Yeah, the last two, MP, MP are both HSAs.
So that's interesting, so the lower benefit plan actually, it is cheaper, but not as much.
Right. Those are things that you can look at.
Yep.
Okay? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're heading towards, so we can get everything we need to get in by the end of the month, okay?
And if you other gentlemen want the other 20, 30 pages of that kind of stuff, the numbers,
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to provide it. I just thought
You
it
want that,
might.
Ori?
No,
Yeah.
Well, I think I wanna know what the deductibles and all that kind of stuff is.
Yeah, that's
on
what's
this,
gonna
so,
happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else then? Carl, do you?
Another question on insurance. And over the last 2 years, has any of the union groups requested a meeting to discuss insurance, deductibles, or anything?
Haven't with me.
We
Anybody
invited
on
them
the
to the
insurance
last
committee?
meeting and they weren't there.
say that.
We invited them to the last meeting, as I recall, and they weren't there.
Yeah, I mean, we only had what, was it Deanne, there's only one person in our insurance meeting last year.
That's correct, yeah, remember you
Yeah.
went to a big effort to try to get.
So we did invite them to a meeting, and they didn't show up. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Just our committee meeting, we just had.
Well,
Right, well, that's the,
That's it.
that
So
was,
it's the insurance committee.
yeah,
And
okay.
we need to, do make sure, if you would, and I'm sure Augie, that you document who shows and who doesn't show as far as representative from any group, so that we have it for our record, okay?
Right.
And should we, as a matter of course, ask the deputies?
I don't know, that's what I was gonna ask you later.
I mean, you can always ask them.
I don't see where
a
it's gonna
problem.
hurt.
I think we should
Yes.
invite one
Yes.
representative from the
Yes.
deputies, just to, okay?
So they're aware of what's.
And I assume when you do those requests, Augie, that's email? So we can have a response from them and
Right.
documentation we did ask.
Okay.
But I think the deputy from Chrisman is their union steward.
I don't know who it is.
Can't think,
Not Kevin.
no.
Matt?
Matt, Matt Smith. So
Is he union
make sure he's
steward now?
notified. Do what?
He was sitting at the
I
table.
think so.
I thought he was D.
No, that's Matt. Now,
Anyway, if you call Matt up and says, I'm not it, you need to call, then we'll,
Right.
Yeah.
I got it,
Make sure they're notified,
I got it.
I think that's,
yes.
yeah. Carl, do you have anything today?
I'll let you address the union meeting.
Yeah.
Arbitration.
That's up to you.
The
Yes, sir.
request for the money from Christmas, do we have that much in
I'm going to get to that when I
Okay.
come around, okay? Phil, do you have anything, sir? Derek?
Yeah, I covered what we talked about at the meeting with the state at the airport. Did I get that download? If so, no updates.
Everything's proceeding on that? Headed
No
forward.
change. The big thing we're waiting on is some sort of direction as we get closer to the TIFs meeting on what the potential 100% federal project looks like, what the scope of what we need to provide them looks like, because that is a major driver of what kind of project we request.
That's a separate program, an infrastructure program coming out of the Trump administration.
So we have a very good shot at whatever that is, but we need to know what they're going to request from us. Meaning that if they're basically saying, show us what your project is, just want your proposal, that's it, then we're probably gonna have a pretty big project on the line. If it's something that we need to front the money for engineering on, then we're gonna do something that's very much already in our scope of work that we're already planning on, or very small modifications therein. So, we're still hanging out on that.
Okay,
I shall.
Okay, let's see. Number 10 on solicit bid. Remember last year we did not solicit bids on the audit because they were changing the scope of the audit and how we were dealing with it. I think we're now, in talking with our firm, Doherty and Parks, we're in a position where we should bid it out. It's been at least 3 years, probably more like 4 years, so we need to do that. Any questions on that issue? And it should, we budgeted 38,000 and we spent 41. But a lot of that was because of the change in the audit, about 4,000 or 5,000. So we should expect I think a pretty good bid coming up from whoever's bidding it, because we have less issues, okay? The firemen have requested, like they did last year, $1,500 from the motel hotel fund. Last year, they requested the $1,500 and we only gave them, or donated $1,000 to them. There's $1,777 in that fund right now. So we're gonna be asked to, what we wanna do. They'll be appreciative of whatever you can. They're gonna use the money for the Christmas days. It goes to several different groups that are organizing and handling the advertising and so forth for that day. So
How does the money in and out of that work, Jeff? Is it a budget year, or is it constantly?
it's just
flowing
constantly
in?
money flowing in.
And varies by what kind of personnel?
What Joy has going on at her place, what Mrs. Randall has at her place, and so forth.
Now, what about, that's still one out in Hume, is that part of that same?
Yeah, have we sent anything to them? Because we have gotten, I think, virtually nothing from them. They may not even be aware that they're
Requests or
liable.
money?
Money.
Which that should be a separate, probably, Hume Metcalf.
Even
fund anyway,
Metcalf.
right?
I'm not sure we've gotten anything from Joy, not Joy, but Karen for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't know.
We probably should send some kind of a letter reminding them and of the obligation to tax based on the stay, so.
How do they pay that? I mean,
Well, like, Joy just sent a check into the treasurer's office a
once
couple
a
of days.
month, once a
She sends it on a quarterly basis.
quarterly.
So if we've got 1,700 in there, I'm trying to think what else is coming up or going on, so coming in
Request
quarterly.
funds.
So she just brought one in, we got one more check, we don't know roughly what it is, and it varies for her as well. I'm sure her next one will probably be her big one with the covered bridge and all that stuff too. I'd be inclined to probably leave 500 in there. I mean, what do you think as
Yeah.
far as the
That's
ins and
the-
outs?
Who else requests funds out of that?
I don't think we've had anybody else request funds out there.
Well,
Just a spring fling or? and-
Well, yeah,
and
I
just
mean,
fall.
too.
Yeah.
Chrisman is been the
Christman's-
one
right.
requesting
Right.
funds.
So, I mean, come
And it's
spring,
2
they'll want
days.
some more money out of
And
it.
it's just those events, I'm trying to think what else, is there anything else that goes on during the year? Probably not.
What's the spring fling, what do they normally
It's
ask
magical,
for?
Carl, you should attend along with everyone in Edgar County.
What, how much do they request as a rule?
What did they get, $300 last time?
It's last for spring fling for
Okay,
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And then there's another one they request, we didn't give them any money last year.
Christmas, we do the
Yeah.
Christmas thing.
One of the things, we just didn't give them any money last year, they requested it, and we said we didn't have it. Well, I mean, you know, and I tend to think, maybe we could do what we did last year and remain $777 in there, wouldn't hurt anything. They were able to survive on the,
Yeah, I'm talking to the fireman, we did, it's all about the advertisement, right? So,
Right.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to plussing that a little bit, but.
Well, that's
say
fine.
reserved.
It's up to you guys, I mean, I
I
don't.
think 1,200.
It'd be nice to keep 500 in the
Right.
account,
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure we discussed it now and there were no surprises.
So,
Yeah, I think
1,200?
Yeah, that'll leave you 577 left in it. The health department provided us number 12. Augie was good enough to work with the chairman out there, Ollie Smith, and they came up with this list of how they would like to see their rotation. And in the past, it's been kind of murky, so this codifies it so that we know exactly what's going on and we can keep better track of it, okay? Anything else, budget-wise? I did some projections. I don't have a copy, you'll have a copy next time. None of the receipts were in. Remember, we're early in the month, there's gonna be a distribution of tax money in the next couple of days, so Don will be able to update the budget, but it looks like we're on track to stay about even, okay? So that's where we're at. Augie, you should have received from Don an email detailing out the budget process for the department heads and elected officials to build their budgets. And that is all together, and Don said he sent it to you, so I'm assuming that since you've been working on the meeting, you haven't had a chance to see it.
Correct, I've not been able to
So
check.
that
the
will
email.
be out to all of the, all of the people that need it, and we'll have the budget process really going full bore the first part of September, okay?
I have a question about
Yes.
the budget that segue into the next piece is the arbitration costs. Are those folded into this budget year or because of the timeline? potentially
We'll
next
just
budget
have to
year?
see, it could be next
Or
year
say-
too, yeah.
And
It's
then your projections have that folded in, or you don't know?
Yes, 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 sir.
Augie, question for Augie. The property on Wood Street, there's a sign out, is that the delinquent taxes on that property, $800 and some?
Dan, I haven't seen the sign and
There's a sign out there.
I'm not for sure. I can look at it on my way home.
Okay, well, it's falling over because they're gonna put it in about that deep.
Well, I'll stop and get out and I'll
I'm
go look
surprised
at
you
it.
didn't fix it.
I tried.
Well, you mowed the
He's
yard.
the one that knocked it over with his lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
You mowed the yard.
I know it
Damn,
is.
you didn't pull the weeds though, I'm a little disappointed.
Hey, I got a bad shoulder. How's that, is that like 3 years they pay the taxes? and
You
then goes
really
up for
need to
sale?
direct questions
To-
on a particular track to Don.
Okay,
He can give you a better answer than, no offense, Augie, but Augie doesn't have that in front of him all the time. And Don is the one that really deals with those questions.
Augie's knowledge of which signs are knocked over in Edgar County is limited. Shame on you,
Oh.
Augie, for not having that.
Well,
I'm gonna have to get out more.
Yeah.
I get out
There's
more.
You're gonna have to rewrite your job
sign out
description.
there on the taxes. but they don't-
Sign warden.
Keep off the other area.
Maybe I can get a company truck, I'll just get out.
Now, Modi yesterday, here's a guy across the street mowing his. Why didn't he just jump over and mow that little lot? Takes 10 minutes to mow it.
because you've been on
And then we wanna have a little deal, a little side, kinda off the cuff, deal saying how we would like to have Andy have prime rib the next.
We should probably formalize that.
Can we put it as a resolution?
Yeah, we can do it as a
Well, we could have
resolution.
a show of
Yeah.
hands or something.
I think we'll vote on it.
You know, this is Illinois, all we have to do is threaten to withhold his,
There's liquor
His
license.
liquor license
Ooh,
next
yeah, that's
year.
the time to really put the spurs to
We
it.
could do that, yeah.
Sorry, Andy, I subjected you to that kind of ridicule.
I'm really through
It's gonna be a tense meeting.
Well, then now, I mean, it's catch 22. If I have prime rib and I get my license.
No, quid quo here, huh?
Price will go up too.
Is
right?
there anything else to come before? Yes, Carl.
Arbitration.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
tried to set you up a segue and Dan started
We,
talking. I'm sorry.
We had our meeting and our arbitration meeting on last Thursday. We tried to work some things out. We went ahead and had the hearing. We will find out in 90 to 120 days what the ruling of the arbitrator is, okay? Is there anything else that needs to be said there, Carl?
It did go
Well,
well, right?
there might be other things, but that we
It
can
did
say.
not go well.
No, you don't make comments like that.
We
Okay?
should got paid by the
What's-
hour for that meeting.
Just to let everybody know, we 30 to 90 days, we wait, find out what that is, and then,
Then it will go into effect.
okay.
90 to 120
90
days.
to 120, yes,
And then we get our bill.
Yeah.
How that works, so it will be next year's budget that would affect.
probably, yes. But we could get some bill in the meantime for,
Got it, okay.
okay?
I'm sure if we wanted to pay part of his bill ahead of time to get it on this
Well,
budget year, they will take
They
it.
would probably take
They
it,
probably
yes.
will.
So, that's, yeah, there's not much to be said, we're just plowing ahead, trying to do the right thing, okay?
But they will, once that's settled, then they'll go back pay for all those months.
Yes, sir. Just like we did with we settled with the jailers dispatchers, what, a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Within 2 payrolls, we were all squared away and had everything taken care of.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, go ahead.
Expectation based on some conversation I had is that for next month, or at the very least next study session, we'll be talking about polling place in Crispin for those, what, 3, 4, 5 road districts. So that's moving along pretty quickly.
Which one now?
So I just to give you a heads up.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
see ya.
Jim called me, Ackland,
Oh, okay,
and current superintendent,
right.
and we had a very good conversation, and, yeah, he said he's gonna take it to the board, and we'll just see where it goes. In all likelihood, and well, in all honesty, nothing's going to happen until next spring, as far as an actual movement. There's a
We're too far
time, we're too close for me to,
So it won't affect the November election
No.
at this point?
no. And also, there's an expense to that, several $100s. Letters, envelopes, stamps, new registration cards. So there's an expense in that. And I didn't,
On the county?
Yes.
Yeah. And I did not, obviously, I didn't budget for 2 of them, 2 movements. Plus, there's just not enough time now because
Okay.
You're getting ready to.
we're getting ready to.
Well, and that was why,
Get
one of
rolling.
the reasons I was asking those questions, just to give you an idea of timeline, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, but.
Yeah, and Jim, we talked that out, but he said not a problem. He said not a problem. I understand. He said we can shoot for next spring. That'd be great. I said I'm on board for that. So
Well, and I guess I kind of knew the position of the school and the school board, talking to the Nazarene Church. They seemed like they were very much on board with that. At least the preacher was something to his board and didn't think there'd be an issue, so.
good.
Which reminds me of one thing, Mark has been in and out the last several months and had a fairly heavy workload, but he is gonna be meeting with an attorney that's been intimately involved in figuring out the expansion of the current ambulance service area. And we'll have some information on that fairly soon. In fact, I talked to him again this morning before he came in here, and he is gonna get on that to get us some information.
There's really no conceivable way that we can have that suitcase before we have the next, I call it bidding for the ambulance service, right? Being Northern Edgar County and all that. Is there any conceivable way that if we want, like, let's say that there was a desire from Northern Edgar County to establish a similar taxing district or levy for an ambulance service there, is there any conceivable way that would be,
Yeah, because we've got
Vote on
8 months, that's what
established.
we're trying to do.
Yeah,
wouldn't that have to be voted on in the next?
it's not
There's no
voted on.
vote,
It's it's a meet, it's a
it's a hearing.
hearing.
That levy
Public
is just a
hearing.
hearing.
It's not a levy. Yes, I'm sorry, the levy, yes, but it's just a hearing, it's not, you don't
But
necessarily.
we're not sure, that's why he's checking
Okay,
that out.
I just didn't know if that was if the stars were gonna align or we're gonna have a mess, because that would be the ideal scenario.
Right.
That's what we're
That it's
trying
all
to get,
done
that's what
ahead
we're
of
trying to do. Now, that may not be possible,
Sure.
but we're trying.
But it is possible, it may not happen, but
Right.
it's possible to
It's
get that done.
possible.
Okay.
As long as we don't run into anything,
When's
okay?
the ambulance contract come up, May of next
May.
year?
May 19th or something
Yes.
like that, okay?
And
So-
remember, if we do nothing,
It automatic.
it automatically
If you
renews,
notify them 30
And
days prior.
if
we find, remember,
and that may be fine.
we may be able to go, and it's totally up to our discretion, and Mark mentioned this. If we find that we're crunched, we can notify them and make it a 6-month agreement, okay?
Okay.
So, I mean, I
That's
think
good
we
to
have, as long as we're all working together and we're on the same page, I think we can be successful in making sure. Now, Northern Edgar may say, no, we don't want to. But at least we need to offer the opportunity to several different areas out there that aren't part of the current special ambulance district. And at that point, then they need to make up.
Yeah, and it could happen in any way, shape, or form, but if the desire is to set up something in the north like we have in the south,
Right,
ideally, the companies that bid wanna be able to bid on the whole thing, because
Right.
that completely changes the picture, at least there's a
Absolutely.
major financial
in fact,
difference between
I
the
think
two.
it'd be a shame if we didn't.
Have it ready in
Yeah.
time.
Well, but that's good to know we have the
As long as-
leeway to say 6
Yeah.
months or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
'cause
so.
we can always, or a year, I mean, we can adjust that, but we have to we have to do the proper paperwork in order, in advance, to make sure all
That'd be
that
nice to have
happens.
that, yeah.
Okay?
Does Kansas have their own district
Well,
or house?
they work under the fire department.
Okay.
They are, there's an entity there, but the fire department runs them, okay? That's my understanding from
And
Bill
where
Stead,
where does the tax money come for over there? Is it through the fire district?
through the fire district,
Okay.
yes. As I understand it from
Okay.
Bill.
And they're happy, they're set, they're sound, they don't
Well,
have any desire to.
I think they'd wanna come talk to us. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, to find out what's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
what's
just,
not.
I mean, if you're starting with a blank slate, ideally, everybody's under the same kind of
And
plan,
they may
has the
go,
same kind of
nope,
service.
we're happy with what we got, but at
Sure.
least, we don't want some
Yeah.
segment of the community going, why didn't you
What
ask
about
us?
us? Yeah.
Rescue one out of business now, I heard the word.
I don't know. I couldn't comment on that. The only thing that, the other thing that was, Aaron is concerned about this issue down south. And he wanted to see when we could get a resolution to ask for the money up front from the township down south on Staley Bridge. And I said, Aaron, let's take it by the steps.
Yeah.
We already we've got, Carl is gonna talk to some people. Let's just take it
Well,
as it goes, okay?
certainly shares concerns.
Well, and that's fine, but we've got a plan, and if we need to do that, it should be in consultation with that township, rather than just handing them this and say, we want the money right now, because we don't trust you or something like that, so. Well, and we just don't wanna do that. We're all working together, okay? Anything else? Public public comment. Do we have anybody here that wants to make any public comment? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Derek moves, Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. See you Wednesday morning. We're adjourned.